We've gone for the new colours, you know, the grey and the...
Today he's going to be chatting to us about the budget speech. Obviously the budget speech happened last week with Minister Gordon, so Dr. Jammine very kindly agreed to sort of unpack the budget speech and kind of give us a practical rollout of what it means to us as consumers. So we do look forward to seeing what he has to say. Before I hand over to him, however, I'm going to hand over to our sponsors, NAB, Newspaper Advertising Bureau. Johnny is going to come up and just give us a little chat about who they are, what they represent, and how they can benefit you as clients. And then from there, he's going to hand over to Dr. Jammine, and we'll get the afternoon going. So thanks again for your time, and welcome. Afterwards, please join us for a couple of drinks and some snacks. After the talk, we get to spend some time socialising with you. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Bowles from the Newspaper Advertising Bureau. Thanks to Chris and Richard for this association and allowing us this opportunity once again to sponsor Econometrix. On paper, NAB, really, we represent 150 local newspapers covering most of the country, in most of South Africa's urban pockets, representing probably 67 to 70% of South Africa's income. So we've got a powerful media type, and I'm not going to talk to you about that today. I'm going to talk to you about why we view ourselves as much more of a media house. And over the past few years, we've tried to associate ourselves with a tremendous amount of value add. One of those associations is linking up with Econometrix and getting quite a tight relationship with Dr. Jammine. But other ways we've done that is through our Roots survey that we've launched in 2000 and rolled out our 4th edition just last year. That's been a value add to a lot of your businesses in the way we operate. It's not only Mediashop, but the individual businesses you do. On the other side, we have an association with the National Retail Federation in the US, where we built up some strong relationships and in fact brought them out here. Dr. Jammine spoke last year at our conference that we held in Joburg and Cape Town, just talking about some trends in retail. Obviously there's quite a strong association to retail, but we really try and position ourselves as a knowledge factory of buyer behavior. That's really where we feel we've got a very strong position. We know a lot of the consumers we go to are buyers, and we really try and understand those markets, not only from advertising but their behavior in general. Today there's another association, as mentioned, with Dr. Jammine to bring you some extra value add, and that all links up to what we stand for as NAB, is being much more than newspapers. On a front in our business, we've just launched a portal called looklocal.co.za, and we're rolling into the online business, and quite successfully. Our numbers are growing every day. We're very excited about it. Enough about that. To introduce you to Dr. Jammine, I don't think he needs much of an introduction. You all know him. He's pretty much an economist celebrity. He's got more time in the airwaves than Miley Cyrus and Charlie Sheen, just for different reasons. And I just said to him, I saw him on the front cover of Business Reports on Monday, and he looked furious and really angry about inflation. And he said, that's not really the case, but he did look angry. Dr. Jammine, it's an privilege to have you with us today, and we look forward to what your outlooks are.
Thank you very much, John. I must thank you most sincerely. I see that you have appointed me as Director-in-Chief Economist of Mediashop. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Delighted to be with you, and thank you to John and NAB for their confidence in me to present. I've entitled this Outlook for International and Domestic Economies, but the emphasis, I will deal quite a bit with the budget and what it means, to the extent that it actually changes much. Not really. The one thing that one needs to really reflect on is that what goes on in the budget is only one of many influences on your experiences. The good news to start with is that things have got better, progressively better. I would say that most economists did foresee this a year ago. I certainly, when I presented to you, said that there has been so much stimulus, monetary, through low interest rates, and fiscal through government spending and tax cuts injected into the world economy to get us out of that recession, that South Africa was bound to feel the headwinds of that in terms of a boost to its economy. And in the fourth quarter of last year, figures published last week, you would have seen we achieved a quarter-on-quarter seasonally adjusted annualized growth rate of 4.4%, which on a year-on-year basis was actually 3.8%, which is the best growth we've had in over 2 years. But just to put it into perspective, it's actually more or less just in line with the average that the economy has achieved over the last 17 years, and is certainly not as buoyant as what we experienced between 2004 and 2007. But that's not to complain. Thank heaven for small mercies. It's quite a nice outturn. And just to explain to you why you can't rely on the budget and everything else, and Zuma and Malema and so on, they don't dictate to where we go. It's actually the international economy that dictates which way the South African economy goes. And this is so evident in terms of the amazing correlation that has developed over the last 17 years between growth in the world economy, which you see here in blue, and growth in the South African economy, which you see here in red. And I've got the forecasts from the IMF, from whose we have drawn these figures, showing you over the next few years the world economy forecast to grow at around 4.5% per annum, and South Africa's economic growth steadily to catch up to that kind of growth rate. The corollary to this, of course, is that if the world economy, for some reason, doesn't achieve this fairly optimistic prognosis, then South Africa won't either achieve the kind of forecasts that have been incorporated. Why was this so important for the vote? Why is it so important for the budget and an analysis thereof? Is because the main determinant of how much tax government gets, well, I suppose there are two determinants. The first and most important is just how well the economy goes. If turnover in the economy is high, then VAT revenues will be good. Incomes earned by people will be solid, they'll be employed, and profits made by companies on which they pay taxes will also be fairly good. Conversely, if the economy goes into recession, companies lose money, they lay off people, and people spend less, and so you have less company tax revenue, less personal tax, and less VAT revenue for government, which is actually what happened a couple of years ago. No doubt you would have seen. From a shorter term perspective, this graph just simply shows you how the South African economy from one quarter to the next has more or less mirrored the average of US, UK, Europe and Japan, and of course China right up there. That's why the averages of the world economy are a little higher than those of the main industrialized countries. But you will notice that fourth quarter we saw quite a bit of an upturn. Don't get too excited. That was to some extent because third quarter has been so weak because of strikes in the motor industry and the public service. And so the fourth quarter was compared against a rather weak quarter for the third quarter, and so you got that uptick. So in all probability, we're going to see that growth going down a little the first quarter of this year, simply because the base will have been that much higher again for the fourth quarter. You know what they say about statistics? You can torture them to confess whatever you want them to confess. So what is the outlook for the world economy? The one thing that the world economy shares, and especially the US economy shares, very much in line with the South African economy, is what has come to be known as jobless growth. Even though the American economy has recovered quite nicely for the last 2 years, you will notice that employment hasn't